Hi all, I'm Sara from Justice for Education, and we are here with Antonia. Antonia will talk to us about this amazing project, which is Educate in Honduras. So I will leave space for Antonia. Antonia, who are you and how Educate started? What is the story behind this NGO?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. It's great to be here. Yes, I'm Antonia, and I'm the founder of Educate. We work in rural Honduras, and I'm from New Zealand originally, and moved to Honduras for a gap year originally when I finished high school to do a year of voluntary work, and that was more or less the origin story of Educate. So I was working in a community on the outskirts of a city called El Progreso, working with children and young people from very difficult backgrounds, and met a lot of really wonderful people in the community that were working really, really hard to make change for young people, specifically in education, teachers, parents. And Honduras is one of the most economically unequal countries in Latin America, so the divides were huge, but also there were a lot of nonprofits that we could see at the time that where funding was not getting down to these people at the grassroots level, where there are a lot of injustices also in how the system of nonprofits worked. And yeah, so I lived in Honduras for a year, then moved to the Netherlands to start studying. And so it was actually 3 years later, after I'd first moved to Honduras, that together with another friend, we founded Educate as a way to support some of those people that we'd met during our time volunteering. And so it really started as a very small initiative just to see what we could do, to support a couple of people that we knew. And then gradually over the years, it's grown into a more solid organization.
Okay, so is there any specific experience that made you decide, okay, I need to start this project, Educate?
Not really. Yes and no. It was sort of a series of experiences, I would say, and a process of learning about the different kinds of injustice that affect communities in Honduras. I mean, it's a country that was colonized by the Spanish and that has been under, it's really struggled to have sort of political stability. There's been a series of coups. So the political situation is very fragile and tense often. And poverty and inequality and all of these issues are very complicated, right? So really learning about those and struggling to understand them and try to really figure out like why are things the way that they are and what can be done and how can we dream about sort of a different future and build things in line with that, and we work together to also counter the problematic ways that work is done. So a lot of different ideas, and trying to sort of figure out what can we do as individuals, but also working in collective. So there's not like I met this person and it changed my life.
I think the totality. I think the totality of the people you met made you
definitely
made you decide. But this question is really linked with the first one. So, how is the socioeconomic condition of the families, but also the students that can study to educate, for example, with the scholarships? How is their condition?
Yeah, so we work in a rural part of the country where most of the economy is agriculture. There's some shoemaking, there's a lot of coffee, but it's a very, very poor part of Honduras. Honduras in general is quite a poor country. And in the area where we work, so we run a youth center in the center of town, which is sort of where we base our work from, but our students come from remote villages around the town. And so in those villages, there's often primary schools. So most kids will finish year 6 when they're sort of 11 or 12 years old. But then to be able to carry on into year 7, they have to be able to afford the transport cost to go into the larger town. And that's when it becomes really difficult. So more than half of students don't continue studying after year 6 because they can't afford that cost. And we're talking about communities where there's not a paved road, so there's no buses, so they have to pay for like a motor taxi to drive people down, and that can be up to $4 or $5 a day, which is, I mean, many families don't earn that. So the cost of being able to continue their education is just impossible for a lot of people to cover. So there's huge dropouts after year six. And then also things like teenage pregnancy, immigration. We have young people that live by themselves because their families have either immigrated to the city to work and find better jobs, or to the United States. There's also a lot of violence in Honduras. So there's all of these different problems that sort of come together to make it really, really challenging for kids to be able to continue their education. Yeah.
I think the issue of transport is an issue that people don't think about. So people think, oh, but there are schools. Yes, but how people arrive to school?
Yeah, and it should be such a basic thing, but it's such a limiting factor. Yeah, definitely.
So you help students through scholarship to afford these costs.
Exactly. So we have different kinds of scholarships. So we have some students that do live on paved roads, but far away. So we pay for a bus to run along and pick up the students along a certain routes. But then we also have students that live in communities where that's not an option. And so then we give them the money directly, and they use that to pay their transportation over the course of the month. So every month the students in the program get their scholarship to cover those costs.
Educate works with scholarship, but also with the youth center, and there is also the community libraries. How does it work,
yes.
And how is the daily life of this organization? Which are the tasks of Educate?
Yeah. So the idea is that we have sort of this holistic model that strengthens the public education system to make it accessible, right? So we have 10 school-based community libraries that are within, 9 of those are within schools, and 1 of them is a public library. And those are sort of spaces within schools, but that really bring more resources, books, sometimes computers, more creative learning, right? So a lot of kids will never have had reading books. They might have had some old government textbooks, but I mean, what child is going to be excited about reading if that's what they're learning to read with, right? So we have this network of libraries that make it possible for teachers to make learning a lot more interesting and exciting for kids. And then we have our youth center, as I mentioned, is sort of the basis of the work. So that's where our local team is based, and the scholarship students can go there to use internet, computers, printing, all of that kind of stuff. And then we also run programs. So part of the scholarship program is a requirement for students to also participate in these community programs. And so we have 4 different programs in art, sport, technology, and communications. But those are also open to other young people. So there's really very few public spaces in Honduras. There's not, extracurricular activities is not something that is integrated within schools. So we have about 80 kids that are involved in total in those different programs that come on Saturdays. We have 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. So Saturdays are super busy with kids doing all sorts of stuff in that space.
So the important thing is to attract these children and not leave them like follow a bad direction, and make them attract in educative activities. Is that the
I think most kids want to go to school, right? Like they don't want to be having to work or having to, be involved in violent activities or whatever else. But it's opening those opportunities and making that possible. And also making sort of this kind of education that is fun, painting murals or learning how to use a computer and stuff that kids just don't have access to normally. So that's why I think we also have a lot of kids that, the scholarship students have to come on to be part of the programs, because we really want them to support them and also developing these skills and having a support system. But then we also have all these other kids that come just because they're interested. And I think that's been really great to see.
Here's the growth of this organization. It has been really easy and really, really fast, or it has been a slow process?
It's definitely been a slow process and not easy. I was 21 when we started Educate. I was a student. We didn't have any money, so learning how to fundraise and how to make these kinds of projects possible. So we really started off with one scholarship student, one library, and then every single step is, how do we get another 500 euros for this or 300 euros for that or whatever, and learning as we've gone along. So now we're 7.5 years old. So still very small, but have learned so much as a team over the years of how to make projects happen, how to work with partners. We work with local government now as well and stuff like that. So definitely a slow learning process and also an important learning process because
for sure it's not easy, but it's important and it's good that someone believes in this mission and works for it, because you're changing the present and the future of a lot of kids and the families of these kids, because you allow people to study and to have a better life. So it changes in a massive way the present and the future of the country of Santa Barbara. So it's the place of the youth center, but not only, I think.
Because you don't know what every kid that has access to more opportunities, what all of these kids are going to go on to do. And I think we see that already, because in the different programs that we have, they're all led by students. So students that have been in the programs and they've learned and been trained in different things, and now they lead workshops for other kids. So it's sort of creating this cycle of where kids can become young leaders and train other kids, and I think that also what makes it cool for the kids to be part of it, because you're not going there and having a grown-up stand in front of you and tell you things. It's really all led by young people, and that's really cool to see that has been possible also for kids to take on these leadership roles.
But did you have any idea in your past to follow this direction, or it was like you have been to Honduras and then you had this idea? Has it been something of the past, or?
Again, slow process. I mean, we had our first student who was this brilliant young girl who wanted to go to university and wasn't going to be able to afford it. And so we said, oh, well, let's fundraise and make a scholarship. And so that, then we had other young kids writing to us after we made a Facebook page, and people would write and say how do you do this? How can we apply? And the same with the libraries. We started one library with a teacher that we knew, and then other schools found the Facebook page and said, oh, how can we apply? We'd love to start a library as well. And through that, then we took on a second student and we started a second library and slowly started to sort of better understand how to sort of shape this kind of thing.
And what about the future? Which are your specific goals or your vision for the future of Educate?
So many things. We really, really want to expand the scholarship program a lot, because, as you said, it is such a transformative thing for kids to have access to education. And I mean, we'd love to be able to make sure that every single child in the area that we're working in does not, or at least has the option to continue after year 6, so that they're not, being forced to drop out of school when that just should not be a reality. So to be able to expand that program and to have the program also be really solid in the support that it gives to students, because it's not just about giving them the money to pay for the transport. It's also being able to support them, have access to mental health services, have access to youth programs, have tutoring available if they need it, and all of these sort of things that, I mean, if you're the first person in your family to go to high school, it's a lot of pressure, and you don't have anyone at home to ask questions to. So it really needs all of these different elements, right, to be able to support students. So really expanding that is something that we really, really want to do. So that's the main thing that we're focused on at the moment.
Okay, and what's your personal message you want to leave to the people that will listen to this interview?
I think it's really, I mean, if you're people, I imagine the people listening are people who are passionate about education and social justice and this kind of stuff. So getting meaningfully involved in things. And that doesn't have to be in a different country, places far away. I think we at Educate we also have volunteers all over the world who support with fundraising and different kinds of things, and finding something that you're passionate about wherever it is, wherever you are, whatever sort of opportunities are available, and really meaningfully engaging in it, because you learn so much from doing the work. And yeah, I think it's been definitely for me very continuous learning journey, but I've learned so much from this work, and getting into things and really getting your hands dirty and trying to engage in problems even when there is no easy solutions.
Yeah, the good thing is that helping we expand our mind, and we learn a lot from helping, for being active for the others. This has been a really incredible interview, and I hope that things will expand in Educate. I'm sure it will happen, honestly. Thank you for being here. And I will leave in the description of this video all the details about Educate. I hope people will be curious about this project and will want to know more about this. Thank you for having watched this video, and I will wait you for the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you.